Have you ever wondered how businesses can craft stories so compelling that they connect with audiences on a deep emotional level? I am your host, AI Raghu, and in this episode of the XTraw AI Podcast, we explore just that with our special guest, Jim Matuga. Jim is an accomplished entrepreneur and the founder of StoryMaker, a groundbreaking SaaS platform that leverages generative AI to help businesses create impactful brand narratives effortlessly. With a rich career in media and marketing, including leadership roles at WV Media and Interaction Media, Jim has redefined storytelling in the digital age. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about the intersection of AI, marketing, and the art of storytelling. Stay glued until the end. We've got some exciting takeaways you won't want to miss. All right, welcome back to our Extra AI podcast series. As you know, we are already in our season 11. And today, I'm having an interesting conversation with Jim Matuga, founder of Interaction Media and StoryMaker. And we are going to talk about how it is important about the storytelling aspects in the marketing and communication side of the businesses. So, welcome on board, Jim.
Raghu, it's my pleasure to be on your podcast. I'm a big fan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jim. So before we get into the real conversation about StoryMaker and what you guys do, I would like to maybe could you share your backstory, your personal story or a professional story about how or about your journey, about how you got into the field of AI and generative AI. Now everybody talks about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my background's in marketing, and how I got into marketing and advertising to begin with started in a very crisp fall morning, just like we're having here in Morgantown, West Virginia, back in September of 1985, believe it or not. So 39 years ago, I was walking through the campus of West Virginia University, and I was in my sophomore year, and I was looking for the bursar's office to go drop out, if you will, of college. And I was really not finding my way through the university system, did not know what I wanted to do with my life. And I walked in accidentally into not the bursar's office, but a building on campus called E. Moore Hall. And what I learned as I was kind of walking through there is I had no idea where I was. And so I hear this voice from an 80-year-old professor. His name was Joseph Gluck. He says, "Young man, you look like you're lost." And Raghu, I turned to him, I said, "I am lost in more ways than you would know." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm looking for the bursar's office so I can unenroll from school. I can't find my way through life and I don't know what to do." He said, "Well, do you have a few minutes?" I said, "Well, I do. I have all day because I wasn't planning to go to class today." He called me into his office and he said, "Tell me a little bit about what you like to do." And at that point, I said, I love to talk to people. I love to get their story. I love music. I love writing music. I like writing stories and writing poetry and things of that nature. He said, "Well, this is like a 15-minute conversation, Raghu." He says, "Have you ever thought about a career in advertising?" And that sentence changed my life.
Okay.
And I hadn't thought about it, but as soon as he said the word advertising, I just felt something stir within my soul. And he said, I think you would be a great journalism student and go through the advertising department." And I said, "Well, that sounds interesting." And he said, "Do you have a few more minutes?" I said, "I do." He said, "Hold on a second." So he picked up the phone. He called the dean of the College of Journalism, the School of Journalism at the time. And he said, "I've got this young man. Do you have a few minutes to spare with him?" And I said, I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to be doing here? So he said, "Send him right up." So I walked 5 minutes up the street into Stewart Hall, which is the name of the building. And his name was Guy Stewart, no relationship, but he was the dean of the journalism school. And he asked me a few questions. And Raghu, I'm not kidding you, I went from dropping out to an hour and a half later, walking home to my apartment with an application to journalism school.
Wow.
And that's how I got into advertising. So the point of all that is, you know, a chance conversation with somebody can change your life. And that's one of those pivotal moments in my life that changed the direction and got me into what I'm doing now, which is advertising and marketing. Funny story on the backside of that, Raghu, is that I had a chance to tell that story to both of those men before they passed away several years ago. And that was kind of cool, being able to tell them the story of that. And I'm sure they said that they remembered it. I doubt they did, but you know, the point is that when you have people in your way, in your pathway, right, that are putting wisdom in, maybe asking you a tough question, or maybe even sharing something. It could be a sentence. It could change a person's life. And so that's what I've learned throughout my career, is marketing is about telling stories. It's also about connecting people, not just communicating. And that's one of the reasons that I started StoryMaker. So fast forward, I've been the owner and founder of Interaction Media, which is a marketing and branding agency based in Morgantown, West Virginia. We started in 2011, so we're in our 14th year now of business. And when I started the agency, I wanted to do something a little bit different. You see, since 1988, when I got out of school, all these years, I've been serving small business owners, entrepreneurs, through the advertising and marketing. We're in a small market here in Morgantown, although we are part of the Pittsburgh demographic. They call it a designated marketing area, DMA, Pittsburgh DMA, one of the top 25 markets in the country. But our state's very small. We rank at the bottom of everything, you know, in terms of the good lists. We rank at the top of all the bad lists, like, you know, per capita income and you know, diabetes and heart disease and obesity. But we have a beautiful state here, and we have beautiful people here. And my career has been spent helping these small businesses and entrepreneurs tell their story. And so that's what we've been doing for the last, you know, 13 years. In 2022, how I got into generative AI and using it in marketing. In 2022, November, right before OpenAI launched ChatGPT to the world, which was, you know, just a subset of AI, right? It's generative AI taking text, and you know the whole deal. And I'm sure your audience does too. And I'm not telling them anything they don't know, but I was mesmerized by it, and I had been seeking a way to exponentially speed up our processes here, because we have a team of 10 people in our company. We serve 40 to 50 clients a month, and you know, it becomes a little bit cumbersome sometimes to generate blog content, emails, you know, having to start from scratch on a blank screen and start, right? I said, if it would be super cool if we could help expedite that process through software. And so I'd put a feeler out to somebody that I know very high up at West Virginia University. And about a week before ChatGPT was launched to the world, I got an email from this person saying, hey, you know, I think it would be good for you to be a part of this cohort that we're going to be doing. We're going to launch, starting in January of 2023, we're going to launch 10 SaaS applications in 10 weeks. And it was pretty cool. And you're from Andhra Pradesh, India, and a lot of our developers were from India that were working on this project. It was funded by John Chambers, who was the former Cisco CEO. John Chambers has an affiliation with WVU, West Virginia University. It's the John Chambers College of Business and Economics here at West Virginia University. And he was funding this project to start up 10 SaaS applications in 10 weeks. And I thought, well, you know, I have this idea. Let's talk about it. So the person who was running the cohort said, Jim, tell me about your idea. And I said, well, I've heard this software is going to be coming out, this AI, generative AI, that could help take an input and create text that actually makes sense. I said, I think we could do that for marketing. He said, I think you're onto something. He said, I would love to have you as part of this cohort. I said, well, how do I apply? He said, well, you're the first person I'm talking to. You're in. You don't have to apply. I want you in this cohort. And so I thought, wow, here we go. So in the month of December, I started working on, and of course, ChatGPT comes out, and I'm excited as heck. I'm like, I could see the vision of how this could work. And what I wanted to do, Raghu, is to solve for a problem. And I wanted to cut it down to its basic, instinctual, primal problem that I was trying to solve for. And that is, and I want everybody to catch this, right? Most small business owners, most nonprofits, most entrepreneurs struggle with how to talk about their company, their business in 30 seconds. Like, what's your 30-second pitch? If I tell you, I mean, I have a podcast myself, and when I ask people to tell me their 30-second pitch, they fail every time. It's not their fault. It's hard to do, right? When you own a small business, it's hard to say what you do. And more importantly, making sure that you're talking to the people in a tone, in a framework, a story framework that says, I care about you. What's in it for you? I want to tell you. Right. And so that's how this whole thing started. I wanted to solve for that problem. How do I create a 30-second pitch using generative AI? And that's how we started. And so we started in January of 2023. Went through about 6 or 7 weeks into the process. I was the first MVP, minimally viable product. You're a software guy, you understand that. We had an MVP in 6 weeks that basically was taking a small database, and what I've created is what I call our marketing blueprint. It's a database basically that answers all the questions. Who do you serve? What problem are you solving for? What's your differentiating factor? And we created a database of all this information. And then through our algorithm and the software, we have been able to take that and send the perfect prompt to ChatGPT. Now we're using the latest ChatGPT 4.0, but what the secret sauce was, we were sending the perfect prompt, and all you had to do is answer a couple of drop-down questions like, what's your tone of voice? Who's your audience? What do you want to talk about? Right. So we had created this, and I'll tell you, Raghu, the very first time it was a call just like this on Zoom. And there was about 30 engineers and these other cohort of people that were working on their software application. Mine was the first one to get there. And when I said, okay, guys, I'm going to make a 30-second pitch for my company, here we go. And I clicked the button that said, make my story. And you saw that little wheel spin. And 4 seconds later, there was a 30-second pitch that appeared on the screen. And I read it to everybody, and they were all like, what did we just see? This is crazy. How did this just work? And so, now there's lots of competitors out there. This would have been in February of 2023. We had the thing down, but now we had to take it to market. And so from February 23 to May 1st, 2023, we launched StoryMaker to the world, and we sell subscriptions virtually every day. We have people across the country using StoryMaker, and what's the coolest part about it, Raghu, is we're able to help the intended audience. Okay, the StoryMaker is intended for small business owners. Okay, it could be a solopreneur or somebody that's in that less than 25 employees. And nonprofit organizations tell great marketing content. Okay. So what is that? Yeah. A 30-second pitch. That's easy, but we can write emails. We can write blog posts. We can create website content. I know you've talked with other people on your podcast about creating great websites using AI, but creating the content is super easy with StoryMaker, because the heart of StoryMaker is the business database. So you're building out a profile about your company that is sending the prompt, so that you're sending a prompt that based on a database, right? Each time it knows you, and you can change that, and it's machine learning. So it's also learning you, but then it's also, that's the heart of it. The soul of StoryMaker is the products and services. So you could have unlimited offerings, so if you're a law firm or an insurance firm, you have multiple service lines that you're selling. Each one of those has a little database built. And so the prompt that's being sent is custom for your business. It's in your voice. It's beautiful. And I'm going to say it's not 100%, but it's darn near 98% every time. And most of the time, I use StoryMaker every day for my business, for my emails and content that I'm creating, social media content even. And it's most of the time I use it 100% as it was written. So that's the background of my story, where I came from. My heart and soul is serving
With the
small
story.
business owners, and especially here in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland. Those are, and some in Ohio. But now with StoryMaker, I can help anybody in that
Beautiful.
classification across the country.
Amazing story. I believe, Jim, I think, thanks for explaining all the way from your how you graduated and how you got into this, and how your passion towards marketing and advertising led you to this. And then uh, I believe you've been on top of the latest trends that is been happening, and that is the reason you were able to pick up these new trends, whether it is AI or now with the generative AI, and how you've been um, at the leading this change. I would like to go a bit more into that. Let's take a quick break, come back, and go into the more details about this story.
Thank you.
So, I that was a great introduction that you gave, Jim, about how you got into StoryMaker, and your personal story, your professional story.
Yeah.
But what is I would like to go. I know AI is transforming businesses in different ways, whether it is the enterprise businesses, or whether it is the consumer software businesses, or whether it is the consumer goods, or whether it is small and medium businesses. Marketing, sales, and management, these are the things which are central to any business. I know that was one of the reasons you created StoryMaker. Could you elaborate a bit more about what is that particular problem you're trying to solve for these businesses? I know you have highlighted or you have touched it a bit. Maybe you can go a bit more further elaborate.
Absolutely. And again, Raghu, it started with the passion. I always say, what breaks your heart, right? And that's the thing that drives your passion. And the thing that I fell in love with, the problem that I fell in love with, right, was that I see so many small businesses and even some mid-sized businesses that we work with and nonprofit organizations, they just struggle with the words that they use out in social media, traditional media, their email, whatever it might be, digital, traditional. They struggle with the words. And what I'm here to say is that the words that we use in our marketing most often cause people to either buy our products or services or not. And so when you struggle with that, it causes your business to not meet its potential, right? You've got this amazing thing, but if you're not connecting with people, not just communicating, everybody communicates, but very few connect. And what I'm saying is that I think that and this is just my humble opinion, I believe that a powerful story that connects a person with your brand is going to do far better than if you're just out there saying a bunch of stuff that everybody else is saying. And that's my problem that I fell in love with. And that's my solution, is telling great stories.
Beautiful. So if we pick up some of the challenges that are being faced by these small businesses, one of them would be, like you mentioned, finding the right words or finding the right content that can go into, because there is a lot of competition out there. And small businesses are the ones who get easily been taken over, or they do not get the much needed visibility. This is also one of the topics I'm very much interested in. Because how do you open the doors for these small businesses, whether give them more visibility, or to even give more visibility, how do you create that content that is visible to them?
Yeah.
So what are some of those challenges when they are trying to create effective marketing content, and how is StoryMaker helping them out? Would you?
I can break it down very simply, and then we can get into it in more detail if you would like. It all begins with the storyline making the hero of the story. Every great story, no matter what it is, begins with the great hero at the center of the story, the beginning of the story. And my point of view is that most companies talk about themselves as the hero. We are here to save the day, the superhero, right? But what they fail to realize is that the consumer out there is not looking for another hero. They want to be the hero of their own story. And so what I begin to say is like, look, let's flip this narrative, the story, let's flip the script, if you will, to make the hero of the story the customer. Let's talk about, there's an old acronym, WIFM. Have you ever heard of that? WIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Right? Okay. And so you start the story with the hero in mind, which is your customer. And the beginning should be, guys, look what we're doing for this customer, right? A testimonial, a powerful first-person account of your product or service is one of the best ways to tell that story because it's credible, believable, authentic. But if it's done in a way that is not thoughtful, not intentional, it doesn't have much effect. But if you have a story that says, here I am, this is me, I'm the customer, here was my problem that I had, here was the outcome that I was going to face if I didn't find a solution, and then enters the guide, which is your company, right? Your product, your service, your nonprofit. The guide enters the story and says, hey, I've got a plan. I have expertise. I have empathy for your situation. And guess what? We've helped other people along this path as well. They join forces and go through the journey, and the outcome is success. Okay. That's just one example of a great story arc in marketing. And now that could be done in 30 seconds, believe it or not. We do 30-second TV. My company specializes in video production. We do TV commercials. We do short form videos, long form videos, social media, you name it, training videos. And you could do what I'm saying in 30 seconds. You could do it on your iPhone. Okay. You can do it if it's intentional and well thought out. And so that's what I'm saying is like, the problem is people struggle with their messaging to cut through the clutter. The solution is being intentional, creating a story arc, a story brand for your company that helps them connect with people, not just communicate.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if I go further down the lane and now try to understand, like I know you focus more with these small businesses, but to some extent, sometimes also work with maybe some medium businesses as well. Any specific type of businesses or industries that would benefit more from using StoryMaker? Something like that you would want to talk about? Meaning, I know there are different kinds of industries and lines of businesses out there.
Yeah, what we're seeing,
particular thing that you focus more
Raghu,
on?
since we launched, we're a year and 4 months into this, okay? And what we're seeing, it's a variety of people, everything from banks to insurance agents to restaurants to interior designers. I mean, we have just the gambit, okay? Law firms, and I think the thing to consider is anybody who feels like I could be doing a better job with the words that I'm using. I need help. I'm not a writer. I mean, I hear that all the time. I'm not a writer, but guess what? Now I am, because I've got a StoryMaker tool that's leveraging a story process with generative AI. It's leveraging a database of your company, so you don't have to think of the prompt anymore. You just click a couple of drop-down menus, make my story, and in a few seconds, you've got this content that you can go to market with. And I think that's the thing. If people are struggling with the words, and most importantly, with time and budget, StoryMakers, it's $199 a year, $199, less than $200 a year, you have access to it. And the one thing that I think is the coolest part, Raghu, is I mentioned the heart and soul is the database for, StoryMaker. But the other thing that we've created within the software is a library. So it saves every piece of content you create in chronological order. And all of that is edited in a Word document. So it's a very powerful tool. And how many times have you used ChatGPT and you're like, I wish I had that answer that I got? Well, it's back up. You got to scroll through it and try to find the fee. We don't, that whole thing is out of it now. We've got this beautiful library, very, very well-maintained archive of all your content. So just to give you an example, I have an engineering firm. It's like a three-person engineering firm. They do structural types of engineering, and they have a virtual assistant. And every so often that virtual assistant turns over, right? They go and do something else. Well, this person's, one of their jobs is to create social media content on LinkedIn and so forth. Well, that person leaves, guess what? The archive is still there. All the content, you could pop somebody right in that seat and they don't even there's no learning curve. So they can start creating content today, right now, so because the database is already built. You don't have to say, well, we can't do social media for, 2 months now because we got to get so-and-so trained on how we talk about our business. No, it's already there. You could do it, right? Like immediately. So that's something that I found that people are finding value in too, is the database and the archive.
So to put it in a layman terms, I think it is more like it is a condensed version of a ChatGPT kind of a thing for your business needs, which is designed to run with your business. But it also understands, StoryMaker would also understand the business context that you are coming in from, because you are dependent on the database that you have, and the database is the inputs that are getting into StoryMaker would be the database provided by the XYZ customer. So all the details are coming in from there. And now you ask the prompting that we do in ChatGPT kind of a thing. Here it is again done with the StoryMaker. But the way you organize that and you provide it to the end users or the customers that is where your secret sauce will lie.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Perfect. You get it.
Now, I know you briefly talked about an example about an engineering firm where it's a small 3-member engineering firm where you're able to help them out, and then depending on these virtual assistants and other things. Any particular, I know we don't need to talk about the confidentiality purposes. We don't need to talk about the names of the customers or anything like that. But any particular success story that you would want to talk about end to end of what was the particular problem they are facing, this particular customer, how did they reach out to StoryMaker, and how did StoryMaker address this problem, and how did the customer or your customer, meaning increase the productivity, or how did they increase the value or increase the gains? Any particular end-to-end
like I said,
you would like to share?
This has been a passion project of mine. So I've been on the front lines of StoryMaker. I have a team helping me do this, but I've been leading the charge. So I have a lot of customer interaction. I have lots of testimonials and lots of success stories. I'll share a couple with you. One is a guy, and it's okay. He's done testimonials in public. His name is Jay, and he's Jay McCord is his name, and he's an Aflac agent. Selling supplemental benefits. And he'll be the first to tell you that he's not a storyteller, and he's certainly not he doesn't have the best grammar and spelling. I mean, he struggles a little bit with that, but he's one of the greatest guys I know, and a great customer of StoryMaker. He was one of our first customers, and Jay uses it to create all of his marketing content he's an independent agent of Aflac. And everybody knows now Aflac, it's a national brand, right? The Aflac, the duck, right? And so he creates this social media content. And it was funny because about 3 months in to using StoryMaker, he got a package in the mail, and it was like a bunch of swag, like gear, like a football jersey and a coffee mug and some other things from Aflac, and it was from their chief marketing officer. And for Aflac, like corporate, right? And he said, Jay, we've been seeing all this content you're putting up on social media like LinkedIn and Facebook. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And Jay sent me that a copy of that letter, note card, and all this box of stuff that he got. And he goes, I'm writing this guy back and telling him that it's not me, it's StoryMaker. And the point is that it's a I hate to call it a game changer because everybody uses that cliche, right? But it definitely changes everything. When you can start in a few minutes, have all the content that you're going to put out on social media on Monday morning, you can create it in 10 minutes or less. And you've got it all there and it's ready to go. That's amazing because you don't have to think about it. And it's authentic to your brand. It's authentic to who you are in your voice, right? It gets to know your company, and you don't have to think of a prompt. You don't have to interact with chat. It's using ChatGPT 4.0 as the engine, the generative AI engine, but you don't have to mess with it. It's all condensed into StoryMaker. Another one is a friend of mine that I've gotten to know. His name is Andy Flanagan with Citizens Bank here in West Virginia. And he does the same thing. He's a marketing guy, but he's also a small bank. He's a loan officer, and he deals with setting up checking accounts for clients and doing car loans and mortgages and everything. And he's also charged with marketing for the bank. All right. And so he does all of his marketing, social media content, and email generation through StoryMaker. And I just love those two guys because those are two real people that are a small bank and a national insurance firm, independent agent, and they're both using it in different ways, but for the same purpose, to simplify, clarify their marketing messages.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I think that's great that you have given two different examples, coming from a bank and coming from a insurance agency, and both marketing people. So now this question comes maybe quite a lot nowadays, right? I think with the inception of generative AI, what is the thing that how is it going to affect people? Because there are a lot of people scared about generative AI displacing their jobs or something like that.
Yeah.
So what is the psych that is going on in the marketing field or in the marketing line of business, where it's easier to say that, hey, no, this is going to affect, but I think there is a lot of creativity that the humans would have to put in. That's what is that's where I come from. But what do you think about how what is happening in this field with AI?
Yeah, it's really interesting the way you propose that, because I believe it too. You know, it's good and bad. It's terrible and awesome at the same time, right? for lots of things, there's a dichotomy there. And so what I look at is, like, one of our core values at Interaction Media is innovation, right? In other words, if I was still doing marketing the way that I was doing it in 1988 when I started, I would be doing nothing but print advertising in newspapers, you know? And so I had to adopt this mindset that I wanted to be an adopter of technology. I wanted to be an innovator in the space. Even if I'm in a small town in Morgantown, West Virginia, you know, that's my mindset. And so what I want to encourage people, first of all, is to embrace the technology. Okay. That being said, embrace it, and, you know, and encourage yourself to use it, right? And not be afraid of it. Just like the internet was, you know, when the internet was coming on, everybody said, "Oh, that's not going to be much," you know. I remember a sports reporter when I worked at the newspaper years ago, back in the 90s, saying, "Do you mean to tell me?" He said, "Jim, do you think people are really actually going to read the newspaper on their computers? Do you really think that's going to happen?" I was like, "Well, I think they're going to be reading it on their phones." And he's like, you're full of, what, but that's just the way I think, AI is nowadays. People are like, I don't know about this. And you hear all the nefarious reasons and uses for it. And it is scary, right? But what I'm saying is embrace it, experiment with it. So to the point about, creating jobs or eliminating jobs, I faced that here in my company. When I was working on this for the first 3 months, nobody knew what was going on. They're like, "Jim's in these meetings. What's he working on?" And then I finally came out and said, "Hey guys, this is what we're doing. For the last 3 months, I've been working on this generative AI thing, and let me show you how it's going to work." Like, half my staff thought they were going to be out of a job. Why do you need me? I said, "Well, yeah, I need you. I need you to help me make this software better. I need you to do all the things that this can't do." Right. And so I think what's going to do is it's probably going to displace some workers, but if the smart ones, especially in marketing, are going to be able to say, hey, I've got a brain here that AI can't think of, right? AI is not a creative, yet anyway, a creative life force, right? That can have an interaction with somebody and then create something out of that. I thought when I was developing StoryMaker, I thought there's no way AI could create a video, because that's one of our big service lines, and that's one of our profit centers. But you know what? We're using AI video tools right now to create. And what we're doing is it's not actually going out and shooting. AI is not shooting these beautiful interviews or these beautiful scenes and telling compelling stories. But what it can do is exponentially speed us up. So if we go out and shoot a 3-minute long form video, we can use a couple of AI tools to create shorts and reels in seconds from that content that we created, human beings created, but it slices and dices it faster than we could ever do it. Right. And so I think what it's going to do is it's going to rapidly speed up the pace at which we are able to produce content as marketers and other fields as well, but just accelerate it beyond measure. And we're going to be able to say, wow, we could even help more people now, right? We could help more people. And I go back to the problem that I was solving for. And I told you, Raghu, that the problem that I fell in love with was people struggle to find their words. I want to help as many people as I possibly can, right? Because I don't want anybody to languish. I want everybody to flourish and thrive in their business.
Right. I completely echo your thoughts, and I agree with what you're saying, that understanding the technology, understanding the tools, and how rapidly you can use this technology and the tools around to serve more people.
Yes.
And of course, with internet and with these other tools, when it was penetrating maybe 20 to 30% of the people, now with this AI and other things, you could even penetrate furthermore, like 50 to 60% of the people, or much more of the segment of the population. And now with these inception of all these tools, I think the whole planet has become one single place, right? It doesn't matter where you are based out of. You could definitely work with anybody from anybody on the planet, and then kind of make it better.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Raghu. Just last week, I had a really cool call, and anybody on your podcast can schedule a call with me, and I'll talk with them. But I had a call from a fellow who saw a podcast that I was on within the last month, and he said, "Jim, your podcast was so good, I watched it twice, and I thought I'd reach out to you to have a conversation." And this guy, he bought StoryMaker, by the way, and then a couple of days later scheduled the call with me. And so he said, "I'm already sold. I love StoryMaker, but I just wanted to get to know you a little bit." And I thought, this guy, he was a commercial insurance agent, sells commercial insurance in Chicago, Illinois. And I thought, I went home that night and I just thought, how amazing is that, Raghu? That I had a conversation with a stranger that I didn't know. He found me on a podcast just like this, and he bought my software, and I'm helping his business. And I just thought, man, that is the coolest thing ever. I could have never have dreamed this 2 years ago. I couldn't have dreamed it. And that's how fast things are moving. True. I completely echo. Yep, echo with thoughts. Yeah, now comes to the interesting question of the podcast. I put it with all my guests, that $1 million or the $1 billion question. There's a lot of competition out there, right? How do you differentiate yourself from the competition out there? Maybe you can tell me in one word or one sentence or one phrase, or maybe in your own way. How would you like to explain it? So StoryMaker was created in essence by myself and my team, who are marketers first. We're not software developers. We created a piece of software from a marketing standpoint, not a technology standpoint. We were using at its core the problem of solving this issue of creating great marketing stories for people. And that's what differentiates ourselves. We're marketing people first, software developers second.
Beautiful. I know, having some Interesting conversation, great conversation with you. We're coming to the end of the conversation, but I would like to ask one other question around what is the long-term plan for StoryMaker and Interaction Media? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I believe that that God has a plan. I don't have a plan. I'm just trying to take what's coming to me and utilize that, steward this business to the best of my ability. I believe in leadership, and I'm trying to instill leadership in my team of 10 here in Morgantown, West Virginia, that we want to go out and serve the world and bring great marketing solutions to small businesses, mid-sized businesses, nonprofits, and entrepreneurs. And I want to do that for as long as I can. And I've got I've got a runway. I'm going to be 60 years old here in a couple months, Raghu, and I've built a foundation here that this company can flourish without me someday. And I think that's really my vision long term. But ultimately, what I really want to do is serve people.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing piece of amazing thoughts there. Any before we close the conversation, any key takeaways, or if our audience would like to reach out to you directly, or anything you would like to say a few words?
Well, first of all, thank you again, Raghu, for having me. This has been awesome. I just appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate your audience and the opportunity to speak to you guys. It means a lot to me, and I hope that I brought some value to the conversation around generative AI and marketing. And I would offer, anybody who wants to reach out and talk to me about telling stories in marketing through our SaaS application, StoryMaker, or even video production at our company with Interaction Media. I would love to have a conversation. We can drop those links in if you want to, and have folks giving them an opportunity to reach out and talk to me. I would love it. Love that.
Sure. That's great talking with you, Jim. So what I would do when I release this podcast, I'll also use those links and I will share it across accordingly.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Raghu, again, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you. So as we wrap up this insightful conversation, I would first like to thank Jim Matuga for joining us today. Jim, it's been fantastic learning about your journey, your personal and professional journey. And you got a lot of experience in this space. And of course, your journey with Interaction Media and the StoryMaker, and how you're leveraging AI and generative AI in storytelling, and how you're revolutionizing the field of marketing. I know all the functions and all the businesses, all the industries are definitely getting disrupted with AI and generative AI. But how well you can use these game-changing technologies, I think you gave beautiful insights. So I would say that your insights on using technology to create the meaningful, effective marketing messages truly resonate with us and our audience. And we are excited to see where StoryMaker goes next. And obviously, to all you audience, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this discussion as inspiring as we did. Stay tuned for more engaging conversations here at XTraw AI as we explore different facets of intersections of AI and across the different domains and different industries. As always, I will be tagging Mr. Jim on the LinkedIn post. So if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to him directly. Alternatively, you can also reach out to me, Raghu Banda, on LinkedIn, or on my other social media channels like RK Banda, the handle on Twitter, X, or Threads, and I can put you in touch with Mr. Jim. As you all know, you could also reach out onto our website, xtrawai.com, xtrawai.com, and find many more interesting, useful episodes across the different lines of businesses in the space of AI. Until next time, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're dialing in or tuning in from. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Happy predicting the future with AI technology. Bye-bye now. This is your host, Raghu Banda, signing off.